Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Ismail Pelaseyed with us today. He's a founder at Superagent. It's a YC Winter 24 company. It's an agent workspace. And YC founders are probably my best and favorite people to have on this podcast. Ismail, I don't want to make you blush, but normally very smart founders. And Ismail is not the exception here. He has been founding a couple of companies, KeyCrunch, I see here, Bitcall, Mercen, before he went into YC in 2023. So, Ismail, can you tell us about what you've been up to nowadays since YC has started?
Yeah, thank you for having me and inviting me on this live stream. So happy to be here again. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Superagent. I run it together with my colleague Alan. We've been building, as you mentioned, a couple of companies together. And something unique about us, I think, is that we've been working together for the past 12 years, which is pretty unique even in YC terms. Usually founders
It's a long
meet each
wedding,
other.
long marriage.
It's a long marriage, exactly. Currently, we are building a platform for product teams where they can do what we call guided coding. You probably heard about vibe coding that people do a lot these days. Similar to that, but for product teams who actually want to ship AI-generated code into production. So it's a controlled environment where you leverage all of the great parts of vibe coding, but in a grounded and controlled way. So that's what we're building now.
Tell me about the grounded, controlled way. Like, what do you mean by that? It's like secure for businesses, for like enterprise clients, or?
I mean, when you ship code, when you wipe code, what you do really is you open up a chat, you open up Cursor or whatever coding agent that you're using, and you start typing something, and then you just, go back and forth with an agent that does a bunch of changes. And when you're happy, it just, it's great for hobby projects. It's great for building prototypes. But let's say you have an existing project, an existing platform that has been running for 10 years. There are 10 different repositories. That methodology doesn't really work there. Let's say you have a team of 100 developers working on this platform, right? So when we say grounded means that, we connect to all of your services, your GitHub, your Linear, your error logs, everything, suck in all of that information. And you ask Superagent, hey, I want to build a feature, right? I want to build feature X. What we do is that we do all of the research for you and basically generate a custom prompt that you then can pass on to, let's say, Devin, if you're using that as a coding agent, or Replit.
Devin is still a thing.
Devin is definitely still a thing. We use Devin internally. I think Devin produces around 70% of our own code.
Wow.
And that shows you the power of, having grounded, as we call it, coding changes done automatically by AI. It can really enhance the productivity of the team. For us, it's almost double the productivity of our team.
Wow.
And I don't think today we merged 10 different features into our platform. I don't think one of 10 was done by a human. The rest was a collaboration between human and AI.
Yeah, I believe you. Pretty much the same with my own companies. Devin, I'm surprised because I thought it was a flop, right? But I think there's just not a lot of companies that have access to it. What do they charge? 500, 1,000 per month?
They charge 500 per month, but 500 is nothing if you can double
compared to a dev. Yeah.
So a dev costs around 200,000-300,000 K a year. 500 a month is a bargain, and I'm actually impressed by Devin, how well it works when you do incremental changes to an existing project, as opposed to doing, vibe coding something from scratch. Perhaps you have V0 or Lovable or any of these other more vibe coding platforms that you can use, or apps that you can use, that get you from 0 to 1 for a nice prototype, even production use cases as well. I mean, I don't think that it's only for prototyping. But we specifically target existing product teams that already have a product in production, that already have their CI/CD pipelines, that already have their processes and workflows set, and we integrate deeply into those workflows.
Right. Yeah. And real quick, coming back to Devin, do you think it's just a PR flop if they really have a product? Because the word out is that they just oversold something that doesn't work.
Yeah, that happens a lot in this business. People oversell everything. Let me give you a story around overselling. There was, back in I think 2023 or 2022, even prior to ChatGPT, there was this product called Superagent, which was doing basically chain of thought prompting, right? But it was very early. The models weren't that good. So people started using this, and of course it was oversold, right? And it didn't really work because the models weren't there quite yet. So what ended up happening was that people, basically decided that that approach is shit. Let's try some other approach. And it actually turns out that that approach was correct. It was just early. And I think, Devin 1.0 was that early sign. But with the new Devin 2.0, I am, really impressed by how it works. It has all of the stuff that you need in a coding agent. But again, there are others as well. There's one called CodeGen that I've heard really good things about. I know Linear has integrated with them. Replit is doing great as well, and I know that they are also releasing something very similar to Devin, not only for vibe coders but for incremental changes. So I believe in a future where there will be hundreds of coding agents. Companies will use several of them, and we are trying to be the layer on top of that, where you can basically decide what to do and then outsource that to whatever agents that you're running internally.
Right. Yeah, Devin's quite interesting. My thought was like, how could they mess up with like 500 plus $1 million in the bank in funding? I think they have at least, right? So, and the lesson there is that yes, I think PR can destroy company because the mentality is move fast and break things, sort of, especially if you're dealing with devs. But they weren't dealing with devs; they were dealing with Leo types of no coders, right? And these people, if they see something break, they're like, oh, this doesn't work, it's shit, and they spread the word on social media. So yeah, let's see what happens. But thanks for telling me that Devin is good. I'm actually gonna give it a second shot. Now, all of these other tools, Replit, Bolt, Lovable's pretty terrible. I use it for my landing pages. It's pretty good for that, but none of them seem to actually succeed in creating like a real working product except Cursor. So Cursor seems to be the go-to. So is that like the current state of things right now? Only Cursors is ready to deploy things, and all of these tools cannot produce like working prototypes.
Yeah, I think Cursor is meant for developers because it's in your IDE, right? So you actually have to know what a IDE is. You actually have
Well, you
to
just
have
asked ChatGPT, right? Like,
yeah, but still, it's a big step for someone who's never written a line of code to open Cursor and see all of those files and learn everything. That's a huge step. So I think it's primarily for developers. I think like Lovable, Replit, and V0 are targeting a completely different type of audience where these people have no prior experience. They know how to use a chat. They don't want an IDE per se. They don't want to set up a development environment locally. They don't want to do any of that. They just want to vibe and deploy to the cloud. And, it's early. I think that the future will look very different in a year from now. And I think that most of, like any AI startup, I think they are well positioned in the sense that the better the models get, the better the output of those tools get. But I also see a future where, we talk to teams today and, they use Cursor, they use Windsurf, they use Devin, they use everything. People, they have 10 different coding solution, AI coding solutions, agents deployed, and they're testing. They're trying to figure out like what works internally for our process. So I think it's early on, but the signs from what we do internally, from what I've seen from companies using these type of agents, is that most probably 95% of your code in the future will be generated by AI. So,
Right.
and then who will win that race? I'm not sure it's even a race to win. Maybe, but I'm not sure that's a race that has one clear winner.
Yeah, and the objective will change. The race will change in real time, which is exciting and scary at the same time. Do you really think that Bolt and all these tools will be able to code a fully workable, a vibe code that is, right, a fully workable product with them in a couple of months, or can AI actually do that?
I think AI is good enough to do that. The question is the user good enough to give instructions to the AI at this current level, right? So an example would be if I give, any AI a bad prompt, the input in equals the output out, basically, right? If I'm not sure what I want to build, if I'm not, clear enough in I may be thinking something, but then prompting something different and just expecting the AI to understand. I think that is a big hurdle for many. People don't know how to prompt, and these agents require a lot of prompting. It's a skill. And
Yes.
that might change in the future, or it might be even more of a skill in the future. From what I see, if you look at GPT 4.1, it requires a lot of prompting in order to actually work the way you want it to work. So I'm not sure.
Don't you think that these companies should just integrate in it that if the prompt is shit, just reply with, hey, is that what you meant? Or, hey, I just reversed engineered the best companies in that. Here are their features, and here's how quick I could deploy them. Don't you think that this would be like a major moat as one of these windsurf or cursor type of companies?
I don't think any of these are moat, because there is no lock-in, from if you're using Cursor, you can switch to windsurf in 10 seconds. There's no moat. The only moat that they might have is like the scaffolding that they have around their coding agent or the language model. But, even that, I think that, scaffolding in general will disappear. It will disappear over as soon as these agents become better. You don't need that scaffolding either. Probably in the future, you can, run a model raw without any scaffolding, and have it do as good. But back to your question, I think that it's very early. I don't know what the future holds for these companies specifically. What I do know, though, is that there will be many of them. There are already many of them. And I don't see that any of them will be a clear winner. Very similar to how people use IDEs today. You have VS Code, but you also have NeoVim, you have Sublime, you have a bunch of stuff people use. And people use different things, even though they're in the same team. And I think that we'll see that with agents as well.
Does OpenAI have a moat? Do you think that they're sort of the infrastructure of it all? And do you think that they will win the most in this AGI race?
I think for chat, OpenAI, have a very strong position, and I don't know if it's moat. I don't think yeah, it's a moat, but I think the thing that OpenAI has that's invaluable is the brand. OpenAI is a very strong brand. ChatGPT is a very strong brand, and they have succeeded in building that. It's like the Apple of chat apps, in my opinion. And it's very hard to compete, even though you might have a superior product. It's very hard to compete with that sort of a brand. So brand wise, I think it's very, and moat wise, they're building a lot of memory features where the agents will, remember all of the inputs you've had, which makes it harder to switch, right? And they have a very high velocity of shipping new products. Deep research, image models, chat models, computer use models, operator, etc., etc. So I think it will be hard. And if you look at Claude as an example, I don't see the same ship rate, basically. Even though the model is great, the ship rate of their chat application, I think they gave up. There's no point.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, Claude's interesting. Sticking to ChatGPT, do you think, what do you think about the Sam Altman brand? Do you think he's the right founder to scale this company? Because he ships like crazy for sure. They've been through turmoils, as you know. So do you think that he'll stick around for long, or is the Microsoft investment overshadowing, gonna put the company in jeopardy and Sam away eventually?
I'm not sure, but from what I've seen, founders coming out of YC, especially that cohort of YC, if you go back to look at like Sam Altman's, background and the network and the lessons and the grit and the time he has spent in this field. I think we have to be honest. Most of these labs, they spring out of OpenAI, even Anthropic, right? So I mean, I think that everybody's betting on Sam, and I think he's like, I don't know him personally, but I think what he has done with ChatGPT is just, astonishing. Growth rate, product, and astonishing.
Yeah, he's the new Musk for sure. I'm just unsure, like if the Microsoft corporatism is gonna long term fit. If he's gonna branch out, if he does the investment, the trillions are gonna follow him for sure. Do you think operators gonna officially kickstart the agentic revolution, and when would that be? Because operator is not where it needs to be right now.
I definitely think it's a future thing. I think it has a lot of potential. I think that computer use agents are very interesting, and I think that they give that certain dimension that certain type of tasks need. And I'm not talking about shopping on DoorDash. I think those use cases are they are nice, but that's not like I think there are other use cases where these computer use agents can create really a lot of value and actually displace a lot of human labor that is put into it. Because in the end, like, how much are you willing to pay? Are you willing to pay $500 a month to have an agent shop on DoorDash for you? No.
No.
You're not even you don't even want to pay $200 a month. And I think that there are use cases where there are high value targets that you can go after with that kind of technology.
Yeah, I can picture the VC use case in the penthouse with $500 a month to have the DoorDash automated, which is quite silly. And that got me reflected on how OpenAI launches its products, right? It's like one team per product. I think they're in charge of branding and the launch and the full side of things. I'd love to learn more about that aspect. But talking about this got me reflecting about the structure of OpenAI itself and how a couple of very smart co-founders created like massive breakthroughs, right? And what you said, you've been 12 years with your co-founder. So what's the necessary ingredients to build something that groundbreaking? The chemistry between co-founders, is it IQ, is it EQ? How do you make actually the fruitful relationship happen like that?
I think it's a combination of different things. First off, personalities. Like any other relationship, personalities need to fit. And I think that being too similar is usually not a good thing. You would want some spread on the way you think and what you do and that kind of thing. I think alignment around what the vision is, what the goal is with the company or with the product that you're building is super important. I also think that both founders need to know and understand that building companies is not something you do a year. It's a lifetime
It's a
job.
lifestyle.
Basically, it's a lifestyle. It's a way of living. It's a way of working. And for some people, it might take 5 years to build $1 billion companies. For some people, it takes 10 years. For OpenAI, it took 7 to 8 years, right? And for Elon Musk, it took like 20 years. I don't know, but 10 years at least. And you will fail, and you need to have a person or a team where Failure is just another step on the way, to greatness and success. And if you don't have that, I think it will be tough. It's a tough journey to have to do
Right.
without that.
Thanks for that. Talking about alignment, isn't an AGI, don't we need non-alignment to create AGI? I feel that if we box it, we're not going to get AGI. And do you feel that the agentic revolution that, in my opinion, would start probably Q4 this year would greatly accelerate AGI?
I think people have a lot of different definitions of AGI. For me, the most, the super intelligence in general, what is the most interesting part and the most valuable part of super intelligence is to get to a level where the AI can train the AI. That's when you get the curve that you want, the exponential growth, the exponential development and progress in AI. Currently, humans are involved a lot. If we could automate that with AIs, training AIs, I think that would lead to something,
Wouldn't we hit GPU limits?
I'm not sure. Like GPU limits for me is just a way of doing things. It's an infrastructure or a not infrastructure, but it's an algorithmic thing. So there might be algorithms that are far superior than a transformer algorithm that would require less GPUs. There isn't a natural law really that states that transformers is the way, and that there aren't other ways of doing it more proficiently. You see DeepSeek, you see other labs outside of the US that are working with other technologies that are much more efficient, at least what they say, much more efficient. And so
Right.
I think there are other methods. I don't think this is the end. This is just the start.
And then the agentic revolution, I guess, like AI training, AI would certainly be agentic. We don't really have agentic nowadays. And again, I think it's about definitions, but to me, agentic is, yeah, like a Charles GPT reproducing itself every day, working while I sleep, and giving it new goals, achieving these goals, reflecting on these goals, analyzing, and coming up with a new experiment that it executes on itself, right?
Yeah, it's autonomy. That's what everybody wants. That was the promise of AI, was autonomy and super intelligence. That's what all the money goes to, right? That's what every lab wants to build. That's the holy grail. And so I think that founders need to keep that in mind when they build their products. As you said, there's a lot of things happening very fast, faster than before, at least in my lifetime. And I think that you as a founder need to understand, like, where can I provide value in this space? Where does OpenAI provide value? Where can I provide value? How does that, fit with my vision, the product I'm building, the user I want to build the product for? If you don't have all of that set, I think it could get tough.
Right. Well, Ismail, thank you for coming on today. Where can people learn more about you and the company?
Superagent.sh, follow our blog. We write a lot of stuff about our thoughts and AI and the future, and what you can do today in order to build efficient agents, coding, all of that. So superagent.sh.
Was Ismail in